The following program is sponsored. The opinions and statements made by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of WBOB or its parent company, the Chesapeake Portsmouth Broadcasting Corporation.
WBOB AM 600 The Answer is proud to present Toula's Tips for Caregivers. Help is on the air with Toula Wooten, your source to go for resources and information to help you in this rewarding but sometimes challenging role. Toula's Tips for Caregivers is brought to you by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. To participate in today's show, call 904-222-TALK. That's 904-222-8255. Now here's Toula.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Toula Wooten, and I have been doing this radio show live every Saturday morning for going on 7 years now. It really kind of amazes me sometimes when I think about it, but it is my delight and my privilege to be here with you every Saturday. If you don't know me, or this is the first time you've ever listened to the show, let me tell you why I'm here and who I want to care for today. I am a caregiver for my father, who's 84 years old and lives with me, and also for my mother, who's in a skilled nursing facility. When you read about caregivers in the United States, you read that there are 66 million of us in the U.S., and that number is growing because our boomer population is growing at leaps and bounds. And there are 44 million of us caring for someone who we would call an elder, someone over the age of 65, 70. And all of us will be doing that. If you haven't already, you will be caring for somebody that you love. Rosalind Carter started the Institute for Caregiving about 35 years ago, and she has a quote that I really like. She says, "There's only 4 types of people in this world: those who are caregivers, those who have been caregivers, those who are going to be caregivers, and those who need care." And so if you are living and breathing, and if you have somebody in your world that you love, hang on. Your time is coming. You're going to be a caregiver. So I'm here every Saturday to reach out to you, the caregiver. And today's show, we're going to be dedicating to really who I consider the backbone of caregivers in the United States, and that's the females. 70% of caregivers in the United States are females. Let's face it, we're the nurturers, we're the caregivers, we're the ones who take care of everybody all of our lives. And when it happens that you've got somebody that needs care in your life, it's not usually the male in the family that's chosen to be the appointed one. It's usually the female, the adult daughter, the adult daughter-in-law, granddaughter. That said, I got to give credit to the guys out there who are stepping up, because that number is slowly starting to grow, and I don't want to overlook that. But 70% of us are female, and a lot of us make a lot of mistakes when we're caring for our loved one. It is an emotional toll. It takes a physical toll, a spiritual toll, and it takes a financial toll on so many caregivers. And that's the part we're going to talk about today, particularly for your female caregivers. If you're listening, you need to stay tuned, because many of you aren't aware of the impact, the financial impact that caregiving can have on you. And so my guest today is an expert in that field. Her name is Jeannette Bajalia. Jeannette, welcome to the show.
It's great to be with you, Toula. You are one of my heroes, so I'm excited that I got invited in to visit with you a bit.
Well, I consider it the other way around, to be honest with you. You're a strong lady. You've started a company particularly for females, a financial planning company for females called Woman's Worth. What led you to do that?
Toula, I have another company, Petros Estate and Retirement Planning, and from that I started seeing some amazing trends from premature widowhood, women who are caregivers for their husbands, and I started seeing the financial impacts because the women would not use any type of facilities to put their husbands in, and so they would spend a lot of their financial assets taking care of their husbands. And then all of a sudden we're going, what's going to happen to them in the future? So I am, as a woman trying to navigate in the financial industry, I felt like I was underserved specifically. So looking at the trends, looking at my personal experiences, looking at the fact that the financial industry is not female friendly with the language that we use. We have a different financial language. And so I said I needed to create a company that specializes with the unique lifetime income planning needs of women.
Because we do have unique needs. We are women, and again, we're the ones who take care of everybody, and that includes children. You know, we are the ones most typically to take off and take time away from our careers to raise children. That has an impact on our retirement.
Oh, you can't imagine. It has a huge impact. In fact, all the statistics are showing that the average woman spends 19 years stepping out of the workforce, caring for either their children, their significant others, their spouse. And when a recent report shows that the lost income from those 19 years of caregiving is reaching $600,000. So, Toula, think about the impacts to pension plans. Think about the impacts to Social Security. Every year you're out of the workforce, there's a big fat zero introduced into that calculation, and that's just not right, but that's what the rules are.
That's what the rules are, but that's what leaves many women truly at a loss in every realm, including a financial loss when it comes time to thinking about her future and how she's going to live in her retirement, because a lot of times we outlive the men. And,
oh, yes.
And if we have cared for family members like mothers, fathers, grandparents, aunts, uncles. A lot of people care for their aunts and uncles, particularly here in the South. You know, and then you've cared for your husband and they're gone and you've depleted your savings, and you're just kind of at a true financial loss.
You absolutely are. And I took care of a great aunt who didn't have any place to go, no children. I took care of my mother. I was a caregiver for 33 years of my life. And thankfully, I maintained my career because I knew that was a means to the cost associated with caregiving, huge cost. Right. But it still impacted me financially because I had to spend money adding handicapped accessible accommodations and rooms in my house, and had to fund a lot of their long-term care that I was bringing in the home. So it does have a lot of financial devastation, and that's why I'm passionate in working with you and working with the caregivers out there, because it's important to follow that heart that says it's my duty and my obligation to care for this loved one, but also don't do it at the expense of your financial future.
You can't do it. You know, if you don't, there's nobody else to take care of you, you know, is the bottom line, is when you get there. You know, I love your heart, and I love your heart for women in particular, and women who have been in this role. I just have to tell you, I did do some social media posting about our show last night and told everyone that you're going to be my guest. And one of the women posted back, "Oh, I'm so excited. She's the real deal. She's in it for all the right reasons."
Oh, my gosh.
She cares. Great. That's the best endorsement that anybody can give you. So it's obvious to me that you care about the females who are out there trying to make a living for themselves and about their future and about planning for their future. So let's talk for just a minute. What is one of the biggest mistakes women make when it comes to planning for the future, other than what we've talked about already, which is leaving the workforce?
I think, Toula, the biggest mistake is not getting involved in strategic life planning. It's not getting involved in the financial planning of the family. Far too often, women defer it to their trusting loved one, their husband, or if you're single, they trust, they trust their sons or their daughters. But You know what? Men don't view money in the same way that they need to view money because of the longevity issue with women. Women are living so long. I'm writing a book about living beyond 90. The fastest growing segment of the U.S. population is the 90 plus. Right. And guess what? The majority of them are women. By 2050, there's going to be over 1 million 100-year-olds, centenarians. So we have got to plan. You've got to get involved in the planning. Because
you don't want to outlive your money is the bottom line there. And so many people find themselves in that situation.
Oh, absolutely. And that's women, when we researched them before I started the company, had two great needs. They don't want to be a burden on their children, and two, they feared running out of money. Those were their two greatest fears, and those are the things that we built a company around to overcome those fears.
Well, I want to talk about that company some when we get back, and ways that we can help that woman truly plan for her future and not be destitute when she's retiring. You're listening to Toula's Tips for Caregivers on AM 600 and 100.3 FM. We'll be right back.
Burdened with a loved one's medical bills? Confused and overwhelmed trying to determine who and what should be paid? Claim Medic can help. Their specialists simplify your medical bills to save money, time, and frustration. They're your partner. They deal directly with the insurance companies and providers while guiding and advising you. They'll organize, analyze, and verify your loved one's medical bills to ensure accuracy and give you a report detailing what to pay. They are committed to getting back every penny if you've been overcharged and making sure your insurance company delivers the benefits you've paid for. They offer free audits of past medical bills to identify errors and recover overpayments, and ongoing monthly reviews of your medical bills before you pay. Claim Medic allows you to focus on what matters most, the health and comfort of your loved one, while knowing medical bills are being managed by experts who care and protect you. Call 888-988-2985 or visit ClaimMedic.com. Claim Medic, your medical claims specialist. With Claim Medic on your side, you'll never pay a medical bill you don't owe.
Have you read the new book, Love Stories and Timeless Tips yet? It's by our own Toula Wooten with Toula's Tips for Caregivers. Toula is a caregiver too, as well as an expert on caregiving. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle at Amazon.com. The book is filled with touching stories of caregivers taking care of their loved ones. Each chapter has helpful ideas that we all can use. I love that Toula included a Toula's tip with each story. Her message to caregivers is clear. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. This is a beautiful book for all caregivers to read, whether you're a part-time, full-time, or long-distance caregiver, or someone receiving care. You should get the book today. Just go to Amazon.com. Search for Love Stories and Timeless Tips by Toula Wooten.
Hi, this is Toula, and I'm here to talk to you about Baptist's new Age Well Institute. Are you caring for a loved one who's 65 or older? Are you a boomer like myself who's caring for a parent? And perhaps your parent has been experiencing some decline in their overall health. Let me highly recommend to you the Baptist Age Well Institute. They have the only real geriatrician here in Northeast Florida who is able to look at the whole person. Their comprehensive approach includes a nurse, a doctor, a social worker, a pharmacist, a dietitian. They have their own physical therapy there. They can work with folks with memory disorders. My goal is to help you, the caregiver, find an organization that can care for your loved one who's 65 or older. I take my own parents there, and I highly recommend the Agewell Institute at Baptist. Please give them a call at 904-202-4243. Again, that's 904-202-4243. You'll be so glad you did.
George, I got the job. Thanks, I'm so excited. They hired me on the spot right after the interview. It was that book I bought from Amazon, From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. The book really taught me something. It helped me to think about what the boss wants. Then it helped me with answers that show that I can do the job. I can tell they were impressed when I introduced myself. I just followed the simple outline from the Interview to the Paycheck book, and I know I won the job with my first 90 days plan the book recommended. They said no one else had ever been so prepared. You should get the book. It's on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle. It's worth it if you want to get hired. Just search for From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. Do it now.
Have you noticed that mom or dad seems to be slipping a bit? Forgetting appointments, skipping meals, repeating stories? You know they're not ready for a nursing home, yet they could benefit from some kind of help. Brooks Rehabilitation invites you to redefine assisted living at Bartram Lakes. Bartram Lakes Assisted Living offers care and services for adults who value choice and independence, yet benefit from 24/7 support. Our residents embrace life, develop friendships, and live life to its fullest. Our residents' families benefit from having peace of mind, knowing that Brooks Rehabilitation, a trusted name in Jacksonville healthcare for 40 years, is overseeing their loved ones' care. Come and visit Bartram Lakes Assisted Living. To schedule a tour, call 904-528-3515. That's 904-528-3515. Or visit www.bartramlakes.org.
And now let's return to Toula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. Once again, here's Toula.
Welcome back, everyone. If you've just joined me, my guest today is Jeannette Bajalia. She is part of Petros Financial Planning, but she has a separate part of it, subsidiary, Jeannette, is that the right word?
Yes, it's an affiliate.
Affiliate called Women's Worth, and I love that because you focus on us women, us females out there who are working, trying to make ends meet, trying to take care of our families, and trying somehow to plan for our own retirement, our own finances, for our own retirement. And that's just not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not, particularly when you have dual and competing responsibilities. God created us to give to our families, to always serve others, to give. We're the nurturers, as you mentioned earlier today. But more importantly, you got to engage in self-care and start figuring out yourself, because women are going to outlive their spouses, and we're going to live well beyond 90, well beyond 100, so we need to make sure the financial resources, and that's why I created Women's Worth, a company that really focuses on the unique lifetime income planning needs of women, because women do plunge into financial crisis due to longevity, due to premature widowhood, and or, fastest growing divorce rate is in the 60-plus population.
Isn't that sad?
It is. It's why do we get all the raw end of the deal? Because I experienced it myself as a 26-year-old and having to step into a caregiving role. It was like, wait a minute, my whole career had to get derailed.
Yeah, and a lot of things got put on hold that you needed to be doing for yourself. And we women typically take that brunt, and it's accepted in our society that we will do that. It's expected, actually, that we will do that. It's not so much expected of the men.
No, because it's like the role, and you know what? That role is precious.
It is.
I wouldn't want to be any different, and I don't I just have to learn through resources that you provide, that you give all caregivers. When I was a caregiver, we didn't have the abundance of resources that we have now that you make sure people are aware of and they are educated on. Boy, I found the National Caregiving Alliance after my mother passed away, and that was after a 33-year caregiving journey. So it was pretty insightful how important it is to empower yourself with fact-based information.
Let's talk about your journey before we go into some of our other questions, because you've been there, you've done that. 33 years you were a caregiver.
Yes, my father died unexpectedly at the age of 62, and my parents I'm first generation here. My parents were immigrants. English was was the second language, and barely a decent second language. And so my father was taking care of my mother and my aunt, primary breadwinner. He died. He unexpectedly, never being sick a day in his life. Then here's two people that needed care. My aunt was elderly, and then my mother was getting older. She was in her mid-60s, and all of a sudden he leaves with no life insurance, a mortgage, and guess what? A $542 Social Security check to care for two individuals. So obviously I had to put my career on hold and then take on that responsibility and support the three of us.
How old were you when that happened?
26 years old.
But you were a baby. To put your career on hold at that time and have to care for those two women in your life.
Exactly. And it was a big, and it took a lot of prayer. There was a lot of anger, a lot of regret, a lot of, I'm the youngest of 5 girls. There's always one in every family that steps up to the plate. You know that intimately. Yeah. And my sisters were all married with kids, and I wouldn't have expected them. And I was the one that had a professional career. My sisters were they weren't the primary breadwinners. I was the primary breadwinner. So I just took it on as something that God would want me to do at that point in my life. Did I do it well? I did it the best I could given the knowledge and the information I had.
And it was different at the time. Now there are so many more resources and ways to get on the internet and find ways to help yourself. But I commend you for that. I mean, that's a long time. You took care of 2 beloved females in your life.
My aunt lived to 100. My mother passed away at 93.
So you've got some longevity.
And that's why I do what I do. And that's why Woman's Worth exists, because I am my personal mission in life, my personal passion is to transform how women are serviced in the financial industry and deal with the health-oriented things, the caregiving-oriented things, deal with the things that the financial industry doesn't deal with. Because for us at Woman's Worth, it's more than the money. It's about total well-being.
total well-being is the big picture, and financial well-being is a part of it.
Exactly.
But so is your spiritual well-being and your physical well-being and your emotional well-being. And actually, you've got to have all those together before you can create a financial well-being, I think.
Exactly. And, I've stolen this, and there's a number of people that claim to it, is most people spend their health gaining their wealth, and then they have to go and spend their wealth to regain their health. Yeah. And that is so applicable to the caregiving journey, and you have to really be thoughtful about managing that.
And that is my biggest message to caregivers all the time. If you're a listener and you're a regular listener, you know that my biggest message to you is please put yourself at the top of your to-do list. You have got to take care of yourself at every whim, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, or you will not outlive this situation. At least not in a healthy manner.
Yeah, exactly. My spiritual director tells me that constantly. She says, you think it's selfish? Because I keep saying, oh, my God, I'm being selfish, worrying about money. She says, no, it's called self-care.
Yeah,
that's
self-care.
The difference.
So let's talk about self-care in the financial world. Say you're talking to a 60-year-old who's caring for a parent or parents and really hopes to retire someday. Maybe she is married, maybe she's not. What advice, what tips do you give her to put in place for her own future? If she's 60, hopefully she has done some planning. Hopefully she's been contributing to her 403Bs or her 401Ks and been saving. But you know better than I do. A lot of women don't do that these days.
No, they're not, because the costs go to other family operational types of things to deal with today. The tips that I would offer you would be, 1, know the numbers. And 2, allow yourself to visualize your future. Mm-hmm. Understand what you want in your future when you're 60, when you're 70, when you're 80, when you're 90. And that's a huge process. And that's the process that we facilitate at Woman's Worth. Understand the numbers, because, see, if you can visualize your future journey, we'll put the numbers, we'll do the hard work and put the numbers to it. And then we'll look at where you are today, where you want to be in the future, and we'll understand how close we are or how far apart we are, because having fact-based information before you end up saying, oh my God, I'm retired, what am I going to do? Having the facts to understand what you need to do gives you time to put the strategies, the tactics, the actions in place to get you from point A to point B. So know the numbers and know your expenses. Most individuals, even the ones that are not in caregiving roles, that are in their mid-50s, mid-60s, will retire, and then they come in for their planning review, which they want to participate in, and I say, okay, how much do you need today to spend? Well, we don't know what we spend. We spend what comes in. Well, that is the most relevant data, is know what you spend. Because if you don't want to be a bag lady, or if you don't want to be, counting your pills and splitting them, you really want to make sure you know your numbers. You know what it costs to live in, and then we can project that out to the future. We will project it out, because we do not want you scaling back your lifestyle. And the most important, women are staying active into their 70s, 80s, 90s. We're going to be traveling. We're going to be doing fun stuff with our children, our grandchildren. Yep. You don't want to be scaling back the joy, because you have paid the price to get there. And we want to make sure you get there with predictability and certainty.
So planning ahead, knowing the numbers, speaking to somebody, going to talk to a professional who can help you put that roadmap in place.
Exactly. And going to a like-minded professional. Again, I created Woman's Worth because I personally, when I retired, this is my second career. This is what I call my passionate career. Mm-hmm. My first career was an executive in a major corporation. And essentially, I ended up wanting to get some financial advice. And all of a sudden, they weren't speaking my language. I was asking for a plan. They wanted to sell me investments. So women are underserved, and I want to make sure you understand you need a like-minded, planning-oriented advisor, not a financial advisor.
Gotcha. Good advice, Jeannette. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more, and maybe some specifics and some of the things that you need to put in place for yourself as a woman as you're looking towards the future of retirement. You're listening to Toula's Tips for Caregivers. This is Jeannette Bajalia as my guest today. Stay tuned for these commercial breaks. We'll be right back.
Hewitt, Laura Ingram, Dennis Prager, The Savage Nation, Mark Levin, WBOB, AM 600. The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. No telling when firefighters are going to get the upper hand on a big blaze still burning east of Los Angeles, the one that's already charred up about 100 homes and about 200 outbuildings. The good news is fire crews say it's about 40% contained, and more people should be able to return to their homes soon, those that survived the flames. Search parties going door to door in devastated areas of Louisiana. They're looking for survivors or bodies that could have been trapped by the recent flooding. Teams from around the state and other parts of the country are joining in the effort. At least 13 people are known to have been killed. The Australian Olympic team says 9 of its athletes have been fined after being detained for falsifying game accreditations. They were taken into custody after trying to change their credentials to try and get better seats at a recent competition. 15 gold medals are up for grabs today at the Olympics. This is SRN News.
Does someone you care for have difficulty managing their meds? Hi, I'm Pamela Henry, a registered nurse and the founder and owner of Mind Your Meds. I've worked in the home health arena for 8 years and have experienced firsthand the great need for helping our seniors with medications so they can stay at home safely. I started Mind Your Meds because I am passionate about providing affordable service and products to achieve better medication adherence in the home. We do this by using automated alarm dispensers and full-service medication management, which includes pharmacy pickup and refills, coordinating with doctors' offices and insurance authorizations, and monitoring to prevent missed doses. We mind your meds so you can mind your life. I invite you to contact me for a no-fee in-home consultation to assess your need. You can call me at 904-291-0505 or visit me online at mindyourmeds.net. That's mindyourmeds.net.
This is the Savage Nation.
Is there anyone in this audience who actually wants war with Russia? Raise your hand. All of you simpering leftist peaceniks now want war with Russia? Well, why don't you volunteer for the military? They're accepting transgenders now. Go volunteer for the military and go fight the Spetsnaz in the Ukraine, you morons, you. What is it that you want? Do you idiots ever think through what you're saying?
Michael Savage, a host like no other.
The Savage Nation at 3 on WBOB The Answer.
Hi, I'm Pastor Frank of One Baptist Church, Jax. One Baptist Church stands for many things, but the one thing we are not for is the weekend warrior. Some people just want to put in their appearance on Sunday morning and call it a week. At One Baptist Church, Jax, we teach the Bible. Not just the popular parts, but the tough things. One Baptist Church, Jax, exists to share the grace and truth of God through the Word, and we promise that you will learn Bible doctrine here. We are one church with one mission. Our one mission is to fulfill the eternal purpose of the church, and that is to glorify Jesus Christ in all things. At One Baptist Church, our goal is to allow God the opportunity to move as He sees fit. We invite you to come and find the freedom to worship God with us as one. One body, one spirit, one hope, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God, where we are simple, sincere, and sure. One Baptist Church, Jax, 2950 Belfort Road. Meeting Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. and Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. Check us out at onebaptistjax.org. Phone 607-7380. That's 607-7380.
Stuck in traffic? WBOB has the answer.
Looking at a little action on the roads. Crash at I-10 eastbound. That's over there at the exit ramp to 295 north. Also, right lane is blocked at 95 north over at Emerson Street due to a crash. About a 20% chance to showers tonight. Looking for a high today and tomorrow near 92. Watch out, heat index near 100. Nighttime low tonight 76 with partly cloudy skies. It's 87 at WBOB, AM 600, the answer.
And now let's return to Toula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by AgeWell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. Once again, here's Toula.
Oh, now that would irritate.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone, to Toula's Tips for Caregivers. We're so glad to be here with you today. My guest is Jeannette Bajalia. We are talking about the importance of women planning for their financial future, particularly if you are a caregiver. So many of us do this because it's the right thing to do, because we love our loved one, and because we feel like the Lord's telling us to do this. We want to give. That's who we are. We're givers, nurturers, caregivers. But in doing so, so many of us neglect ourselves and actually pay the cost. And that cost can be many realms, but also financial, because as Jeannette alluded to earlier, there are costs associated with caring for a loved one. There are things you have to buy for them. There's food you have to buy for them. There's medical equipment you get for them. You rearrange your house for them. You add on to your house for them. And then you stop working for a while, or you reduce your hours. And we've talked a little bit about what those numbers can look like for the women who do that, and the hit to their retirement portfolio. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But Jeannette, before we go into that, let's talk about some of the other legal documents that we need to put in place, both for ourselves as we are aging, and maybe make sure we got everything together for the loved one.
Exactly. That is one of the cornerstones of our Women's Worth planning process. We deal with 4 types of plans that you need. You need that lifestyle income plan. You need that tax plan, because many of us are retiring with a bunch of tax-deferred assets. So while we think we have $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000, you really don't have it if they're sitting in IRAs or in those tax time bombs. Then you need to have your health care plan, because cost shifting out of the health care system, both Medicare as a public plan and private plans, are shifting more costs to you as a healthcare consumer. And then the estate plan, the legal plan, over 50% of people are walking out without legally compliant documents that will protect them should their loved one unexpectedly pass away, or should there be some long-term care planning needs. So I want to just address a few of the documents that you need. It is essential that everybody has a will or a trust, whichever is appropriate, because you don't want to be fighting the probate systems, particularly in the state of Florida. It's costly. You can't go to probate yourself. You need to get an attorney, and attorneys cost big bucks. You want to keep the money in your pocket.
Right.
So if you don't have legally compliant documents, or, because their laws are constantly changing. So you need to make sure they're constantly updated. Then the other 3 critical documents you need are your healthcare power of attorney, your general power of attorney for financial matters, and a living will. They're different documents. You don't want to go at it without these documents. And even I tell a lot of women who are sending their kids off to college, make sure you have a healthcare power of attorney or a general power of attorney for your kids, because if they're over 18 years old, you're not going to be able to get information from them if there's a crisis.
Right.
So take care of yourself. So, and as we fast forward, as we get into those caregiving roles, Toula, I know you mentioned it on my radio station, on my radio program a couple weeks ago. I think it's important to understand the cost of the care that you're providing and get that cost actualized through a personal care agreement. And I know a lot of people don't understand what a personal care agreement is.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit and explain it, and why a caregiver needs one.
You need one because, my philosophy is you've got to pay yourself for the care, because most caregivers have gone to part-time, or they've stepped out of the workforce to help their loved ones. It's important that you get compensated out of the person you're taking care of's estate. Because you know what? If you don't compensate yourself, you're likely going to be giving it to the government, or you're likely going to be giving it to a nursing home. So you're giving that care, so you're shifting that location of care to you and your home. And so what a personal care contract is between a family member who agrees that they're going to provide these services. And it has to be explicit. It has to be in writing. You can't just render the care. And you have to be able to get paid fair, reasonable, and customary for that care. It has to be reasonable, and it means that it can't be more than care that you would pay for if you hired a home health agency or in a nursing facility. I mean, you can't just go start shifting estate assets to you at will. It has to be structured in the form, and you have to explicitly define what care you're going to render. So it's legal, it's compliant, and so it really contains the language that legitimizes your caregiving role. And it's not meant to shield assets. It's not meant to go hide things so you don't end up paying it to a nursing home. It's meant to fairly and reasonably compensate you for the care that you're given. Otherwise, you're likely to be paying $25, $30, $40 an hour to someone to bring the care in. So that's what really, I think everybody needs that is in a caregiving role or thinking about being in a caregiving role, because I like to open up the dialogue with your loved one before that point and have it ready to execute on when you need it.
So that means you have to do some research to know what the reasonable rate is in your community. If you are providing 24-hour care for a mother, father, someone who's living with you, you need to do the research to see what are companions paid for, what are certified nursing assistants paid in the area that you live in, so that you can address that in the agreement.
Absolutely. And when you're doing your plan and you're thinking that this is a future possibility, I was working with a woman currently. She's 63 years old, and she's passionate about the work. She was in the financial world, but unfortunately she lost her job. And at the time she lost her job, she says, you know what, my father needs my help. I have to do a lot of traveling to help him. He's in his upper 80s. And my husband is significantly older than me and is in a care. I need to provide care to now 2 individuals. So she is just providing care for her father and her husband. So she felt that she wasn't going to go find a job, knowing it was going to have a financial impact. And the unfortunate situation is she stepped out of the workforce, and she did not have a personal care agreement. And now her father has passed away. Now she is having to care for her husband. So I recommended as part of her plan, because I showed her you have got to work part-time. You cannot go at this alone, because she was going to run out of money with her financial resources in her upper 70s. And she's still full of energy and life and wants to work another 20 years in her 60s.
She can't do that while she's taking care of her husband. She can't do it full time and take care of her husband.
She can't. So in her situation, I aligned her with a like-minded attorney that's going to help her create the proper personal care agreement to render the care to her husband.
Very good. And that was good with the husband.
Oh, yes. Well, and see, it's unfortunate that she had to take it. She had to work hard to discuss it with her husband.
Right.
Because you question, because if he's starting to go down the dementia, the Alzheimer's path, you don't want to be having those discussions in that, because you don't know that comprehension or the level of acceptance and understanding. So if you have another family member that whispers in their ear, that's going to go against what you're trying to accomplish.
Right. You're up against a creek.
Exactly. So it's important to open up the dialogue, just like your book says. Open up the dialogues, have those discussions up front.
Up front, and get everybody there. And if you need to get a mediator to come in and help you with that, that's really advisable sometimes, because let's face it, we are in an emotionally charged situation, in a caregiving situation.
I get it. I get it so well, because it was very important for me to make sure, even though I assumed full financial responsibility for my caregiving role for my family, and I was blessed because I had a good career that allowed me to provide that care. But when it got to the point where I took my mom out of the hospital and 10 pills for a prescription to get this synthetic antibiotic cost $1,000, and I stood at the counter at Publix crying, because I'm going, where am I going to come up with an extra $1,000? I don't have that sitting around in my checking account. I was paying for care.
Right.
I called each of my sisters, and I said, I need $225 from each of you, because we need this, and I can't pay for it. And yeah, they graciously, because they knew the price I'd paid, and they graciously came to the table. But that was the first time I asked, and I learned I should have been asking.
Should have been asking sooner, and you were fortunate in that you had sisters that were good with helping. So many sibling situations are not that way. We know that well. Families don't often help. They leave it to the one who is the appointed one, as I like to say. So I'm thankful you had gracious sisters who could help. You are listening to Toula's Tips for Caregivers on AM 600 and 100.3 FM. We'll be right back after this sponsor break.
Have you read the new book, Love Stories and Timeless Tips yet? It's by our own Toula Wooten with Toula's Tips for Caregivers. Toula is a caregiver too, as well as an expert on caregiving. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle at Amazon.com. The book is filled with touching stories of caregivers taking care of their loved ones. Each chapter has helpful ideas that we all can use. I love that Toula included a Toula's tip with each story. Her message to caregivers is clear. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. This is a beautiful book for all caregivers to read, whether you're a part-time, full-time, or long-distance caregiver, or someone receiving care. You should get the book today. Just go to Amazon.com. Search for Love Stories and Timeless Tips by Toula Wooten.
Burdened with a loved one's medical bills? Confused and overwhelmed trying to determine who and what should be paid? Claim Medic can help. Their specialists simplify your medical bills to save money, time, and frustration. They're your partner. They deal directly with the insurance companies and providers while guiding and advising you. They'll organize, analyze, and verify your loved one's medical bills to ensure accuracy and give you a report detailing what to pay. They are committed to getting back every penny if you've been overcharged and making sure your insurance company delivers the benefits you've paid for. They offer free audits of past medical bills to identify errors and recover overpayments, and ongoing monthly reviews of your medical bills before you pay. Claim Medic allows you to focus on what matters most, the health and comfort of your loved one, while knowing medical bills are being managed by experts who care and protect you. Call 888-988-2985 or visit ClaimMedic.com. Claim Medic, your medical claims specialist. With Claim Medic on your side, you'll never pay a medical bill you don't owe.
Hi everyone, this is Toula again, and I'm here to tell you about the Agewell Institute at Baptist Health. They're located in the San Marco area. I've been taking my own parents there for about 2 years now. Dr. Lance, the geriatrician on staff, has done remarkable things for both my parents and for me, the caregiver. They have great information, advice, and resources to help me. Dr. Lance and her team of social workers, dietitians, nurses, therapists, and the pharmacist have been so instrumental in helping me keep my own parents independent and living in their own home where they want to be. If you're looking for someone to either supplement the care that your primary physician is giving to your loved one who's 65 or older, or to perhaps become their primary care physician, I really encourage you to call the Agewell Institute at Baptist. Their number is 904-202-4243. Again, that's 904-202-4243.
George, I got the job. Thanks, I'm so excited. They hired me on the spot right after the interview. It was that book I bought from Amazon, From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. The book really taught me something. It helped me to think about what the boss wants. Then it helped me with answers that show that I can do the job. I can tell they were impressed when I introduced myself. I just followed the simple outline from the Interview to the Paycheck book, and I know I won the job with my first 90 days plan the book recommended. They said no one else had ever been so prepared. You should get the book. It's on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle. It's worth it if you want to get hired. Just search for From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. Do it now.
And now let's return to Toula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. Once again, here's Toula.
Well, welcome back, everyone. If you've just joined me, my guest, Jeannette Bajalia, and I are talking about some pretty important things. Stay tuned. And you know, I haven't said it at the top of the show like I should have because we got busy fast. If you're brave enough today to call in, ask a question, make a comment, I have a gift certificate for you to Riverfront Cafe there in the beautiful Haskell Building on Riverside Avenue, and a copy of my book. So brave up, folks. Pick up the phone, 904-222-8255, and call in. Jeanette's got some amazing advice for those of us who are females and who should be planning for our retirement future. Jeanette, one of the things that's really important for us in planning for our future and our care is a long-term care insurance plan. Talk to me about that a little.
Oh, I'd love to, because so many people we talk to, you speak a lot, I speak a lot. We just don't see a lot of people planning for long-term care. It's a discussion we don't want to have. But you need to understand the financial impacts. If you don't have some understanding and protective strategy for long-term care. One of the reports that I provide in our planning process is the cost of long-term care, and then the impact to the survivor if you spend a lot of your money on caring for your husband or caring for your spouse, and all of a sudden they pass away, and then how much is left for the survivor, and then usually there's no one else to care for the survivor. So it's important for us to look at health, long-term care from an options. And, I want to dispel the thought that long-term care is traditional insurance-based. The insurance industry recognizes that the average premium increase for those of you who do have long-term care, I'm sure you've seen about 30% premium increases. But what you want to do is look at how much protection do I need? How much can my estate afford? And then you want to ensure that you get the right type of protection. There are traditional long-term care solutions. There are what they call hybrid long-term care solutions that come inside life insurance. There's single premium long-term care that are effective models where you don't lose a nickel of money out of your estate, whether you need long-term care or not. And then there's these annuity solutions that have long-term care in them. So what's right for you is a function of the plan. So you need some form of protection because of the cost. Today's average cost of a year of stay in a skilled nursing facility, the national average is $91,000.
Who can afford that?
I have no idea. But you got to think about it. And there's other living arrangements like continuing care retirement communities. Some of them are privately held. Some of them are nonprofit. Foundations run them, and some of the churches run them. I do a lot of analysis of these for my clients, and I recommend from a financial standpoint which is the most effective to protect them, not only for today and quality of lifestyle, but when they do need that long-term care.
When they can retire. We have a caller on line 1. So, Sharon, welcome to Toula's Tips for Caregivers. Have I got you on the air? I'm sorry, I hit the wrong line. Line 2. Hi, Sharon. How are you today? Oh, Sharon, did I lose you?
I live in Florida, and my sister lives in Ohio, and she is the caregiver for my mother, who is 93 years old. I speak with her every other day by phone to give her encouragement, inspiration, and any information that I can give her. My question to you is, how can I really emphasize to her self-care?
You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to answer that first, and then, Jeannette, I'm going to let you come in. I'm going to give you a statistic that might blow her away, because it blew me away when I read it.
All right. Thank you.
30% of caregivers who are caring for a frail elder, like a mother, father, die before the person they're taking care of. And often it's due to self-neglect. It's due to the diseases that stress can bring on. And if they're caring for someone who has any form of dementia like Alzheimer's, that number jumps to over 40%.
Whoa. Yeah, that's critical. And Sharon, I might offer it. This is Jeannette. I was a caregiver as well for 33 years. And to be honest with you, I assumed my caregiving role at 26. By the time I was 36, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was stress-induced breast cancer. It was not, I didn't have the gene, and there's no history in my family. It was trying to juggle an aggressive career, my caregiving responsibilities, and doing the advanced education I was doing. So that's what your sister needs to understand is it's a silent threat, physical threat, and she needs to take care of herself because she may not experience it now, but it's going to come out, rear its ugly head.
She has got to put her.
She's 49 years old. Right? She's 49, so I still keep stressing to her self-care, self-care. You need to take care of yourself first before mom.
It's so hard to do because so many of us females, particularly if we've got a Christian faith, we feel like it's selfish. We feel like we have to put others before ourselves, but it's not the case. If you do not put yourself first, you may not make it through this experience, or you may not make it out well.
And one idea is force her into it by gifting her a long weekend away with a girlfriend, and then once someone else in the family steps in and takes care of it. That's one way to encourage her. Say, it's not an option. We made the decision. This is what you do. We build those types of things into our plans to force that self-care.
All right. Well, I thank you both very, very much, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you, Sharon, for calling in.
Thank you, Toula.
Thank you. Laura, you've been holding very patiently on line 1, and I apologize for the wait. Are you still there?
I am. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize to you. You know, to tell you the truth, your name didn't pop up in big black letters like it does on the screen, so I just didn't see it. So my apologies.
No problem. I'm here.
Okay. Thanks for calling in today. How can we help you?
So as a female in my 30s, I do have aging parents and aging single family members. I'm about to get married, start a family. What advice do you have, knowing that caregiving is coming down the line for me and I foresee it very soon, financial-wise?
What advice do you have for an early 30-something-year-old who's getting married sometime this year and wants to plan for her retirement future and sees herself as being a caregiver in the future?
I would say get a plan with you and your soon-to-be husband. Make sure you guys are protected at a financial level. Should either of you unexpectedly, a lot of times we think it's older people that need caregiving, but I've got clients who are 28 years old and then end up with a disabled husband very quickly. So put your personal plans in place, and then when it comes to your parents, open up the discussion for how they want to receive the care while they're full, and provide yourself with, look, I know I'm going to be doing it and I want to do it, but I need to understand, do we have all the I's dotted on the T's crossed? Make sure they have their legal documents. Make sure that perhaps they do have guardianship documents and they have all the proper documents that they need so you can easily step into that role.
Okay.
Do either of them have long-term care insurance? Do you know that?
No, they don't.
That's an important thing to say. How are we going to fund this? Because in your new marriage, if you think you're very soon to be moving into that, can you really take on that financial burden?
Exactly. And I am the only daughter, out of 2. I have an older brother. I know it's going to be coming back on me. Yeah.
Most likely it will be you.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to look out for you. This is what Jeannette does for a living. She helps women like us figure out how to plan for our financial futures. Jeannette, we've only got 2 minutes left in the show. Can you give us how to contact you?
Yes, you can contact me at the office. And Sharon, if you want to, anybody who's called in or listening, if you want to contact the office, I'll be glad to send you also a copy of my book that I wrote specifically for women that deals with a lot of these issues. And it's called Wise Up Women, Your Guide to Total Fiscal and Physical Well-Being. So that's what, just call the office at 904-824-5656. That's 904-824-5656. Or just go into my website, www.womans-worth.com. So either way, you can get hold of us, and we'll be glad to help you out, answer more questions, and send you a copy of my book as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for calling in, Laura. Good questions you had today. Appreciate the calls. I hope both of you who called in gave the producer your name and information. If you haven't, call back, and we will get you what we promised you, the gift certificates and the books. Sharon, I know he didn't get it from you because he's shaking his head no, so call back. Laura, same thing. You've been listening to Toula's Tips for Caregivers. Jeannette, you've given out such great information today. I think we're going to have you back.
That's not a problem. I love working with you because we have the same focus.
We do.
Helping reach the women.
Helping reach the women. Next week my show is going to feature Mary Daniel, who owns a company called Claim Medic. If you are inundated with medical bills and you don't know what you should be paying and not should be paying, she can help you. So be sure to tune in tomorrow. Most of all, folks, take care of yourselves and have many, many blessings for you today. Bye-bye.
Good job.